Extra minutes.
I have to say, you're an unlikely pair. How did you become this dynamic detective duo that you are today?
We initially bumped into each other basically on the internet, research forums and what have you, that we're both members of. Found that a lot of our research was sort of parallel in things we were looking at, and joined forces to research a couple of different things that came up, and then the Fromelles investigation happened, and we just jumped straight in.
How did they end up in these graves behind the German lines?
The lines at that point were pretty static throughout the entire war. The Germans, of course, took the front lines back. The Australians had to retreat, and expediency, and I can understand if you're a soldier and you had your enemy that have been killed behind your lines, you're going to want to move them quickly. I mean, disease, you can just imagine. And so it was ordered for the pits to be dug behind Pheasant Wood, and they were collected from the battlefield behind the German lines onto their tramway system, conveyed to the pits, and then buried in them. We're fortunate that each man was to have his ID disc and any personal belongings or whatever removed, individually bagged. They were then sent back to the German headquarters and what have you, and from there the discs eventually and the property eventually found their way back to the families in Australia.
Which is quite a civil act after such a brutal act.
Absolutely. I don't... It was war. They had to do what they had to do. They were enemies, but I think after the fact they weren't disrespectful. Look, some of the pits, the bodies were thrown in pretty, slap happy, so to speak. But then again,
it was war.
If I was burying 250 men in that kind of condition, it'd be a pretty horrific task after you just want to get it over and done with.
How daunting is the task now, trying to identify them all?
The thing that concerns me mostly is the time factor. Is 2014 will be the last lot, and after that, whatever's not identified, that's it. It's all finished, and it comes to an end. And I personally think that a lot more time could be generated into it. I fully appreciate that it's an expensive exercise, but we owe these men a lot. And as I said before, every soldier deserves the right to live forever. They went off to war expecting that if they died that they would have their name on a headstone. Never for 1 minute did they think that it would be an unknown soldier on their headstone. So I personally think we have an obligation to those men to see that they are identified, irrespective of how long it takes.